I got the wedding invitation in the mail 2 months after I had to borrow money for groceries. The envelope was cream-colored, thick as gilt, with gold embossed lettering. Her name came first, of course, Samantha Grace, in curls and flourishes, like something out of a bridal magazine. Below hers, in a plainer font, was Ethan's, my ex. No +1, not even a scribbled note. Just a folded RSVP card with a checkbox. Accept with pleasure, decline with regret. I didn't check either box. I left it on my kitchen counter, beside a jar of peanut butter and an overdue electricity bill. I knew it was my money the moment. Mom said, "Isn't this venue beautiful? Sam's dream is finally coming true." She said it with that soft, distant smile, the kind she wore whenever the family did something cruel but called it love. I was quiet when she told me, trying to calculate the numbers in my head. I remembered the spreadsheet I made 2 years ago, when I transferred $15,000 from my savings to help them get through a rough patch. I never asked for it back. Back then, Dad lost his job, and Sam had just graduated. "We're not asking for charity," Mom had said. "Just a loan. You'll get it back by next fall." But fall came and went, and now there was a custom floral, arch and imported chairs. A vineyard I'd never been to. They never gave the money back. They used it on her. I didn't tell anyone when I decided not to go. It wasn't a loud decision. It came like a quiet breath after years of choking. A small, still rebellion in a kitchen that always smelled of someone else's dinner. I looked at the invitation one more time and slipped it into a drawer beneath expired coupons and unopened birthday cards. I told them I had to work that day. No one asked what I do anymore anyway. The day of the wedding, I made coffee slowly. I let the sun warm my face through the curtains, the same beige ones I bought when I first moved into this studio apartment they said was a phase. I watched the city wake up, listened to distant car horns, imagined the ceremony beginning. Sam in white chiffon, Dad holding back tears, Mom adjusting her pearl necklace. I stayed barefoot. I didn't post anything. I didn't cry, but I did take out my laptop, open the bank app, and scroll back to that transfer, the one labeled Family Support Fund. The number blinked back at me like a scar. It was always like this. Even when we were kids, Sam got the new backpack. I got her old one, frayed at the seams and still smelling like her vanilla perfume. She got to quit piano after 2 lessons. I practiced for 8 years because Mara's the serious one. She was emotional. I was dramatic. She was passionate. I was difficult. She was the baby. I was the reliable one. But something shifted in me that morning. It wasn't rage. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted distance, wide and quiet. A boundary they wouldn't notice until it was too late. The kind that didn't need fences or fights. Just silence. The silence after the wedding was polite. No one called to ask why I hadn't come. Not Mom, not Dad, not even Sam. There were photos, of course. Tagged, filtered, perfected. Her in that lace-sleeved gown, laughing like the world owed her joy and was finally paying up. The whole family was there. Uncle Don, Aunt Celia, even my cousin Julian, who hasn't left his house in 2 years, apparently, found the motivation for her. I zoomed in on one photo, a group shot of the bridesmaids. I recognized the earrings one of them wore. They used to be mine. I didn't call them out. I didn't message her. I didn't ask about the money or the seat that was never saved for me. I did something worse. I started remembering. Not the loud memories, not the obvious betrayals. The quiet ones. The ones that didn't hurt until I looked back at them with new eyes. Like the way Mom always asked me to drive Sam to her appointments, even when I had midterms the next day. "You're better with directions," she said. Or how Dad once bought Sam a car when she didn't pass her driving test, because it'll motivate her to try again. When I graduated college with a GPA Sam could never touch, they gave me a watch. When she passed one course after 3 tries, they threw her a backyard barbecue. They didn't mean to hurt me. That's what I told myself for years. But neglect doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just forgets you exist. I started deleting things. Old text threads, birthday videos I filmed for them, photos where I'm standing at the edge of the frame, half smiling, as if I didn't notice I'd been cropped by real life. Left the family group chat. No announcement. Just slipped out quietly, like I'd always done at family dinners once the wine came out and the praise started flowing, always toward her. I didn't unfollow anyone. I just muted them all. 2 weeks later, Mom called. Not to ask about the wedding, not to ask why I hadn't come. "Sweetheart, can you help Sam? She's having trouble budgeting her credit card now that she's combining finances with Ethan." I let the silence stretch long enough for her to fidget. I could hear it in the way she cleared her throat twice. "I'm not the best person to ask," I said, steady. "But you're so good with money." "Not anymore." There was a pause. Then, "Well, you don't have to be cold about it." That word again. Cold. That's what they always call you when you stop setting yourself on fire for them. That night, I opened a new savings account. One only I had access to. No family fund folder, no emergency lending pool. Just mine. I set up an automatic transfer. Small, symbolic. Then I opened a blank spreadsheet and titled it, "Things No One Will Ever Owe Me For Again." The first line I typed was, $15,000, wedding I didn't attend. Then I closed my laptop and turned off my phone. I didn't need digital echoes tonight. I sat on my couch, the one with the sunken cushion I can't afford to replace yet, and listened to the hum of the fridge, the tiny click of the heater, the ordinary comfort of being alone in a space that was fully mine. No borrowed approval, no half-hearted thanks. No being good for someone else's convenience, just me. Thanksgiving came faster than I expected. The text came from Mom, a week before. "Dinner at 4. Bring your sweet potato casserole?" No hello. No. "We missed you at the wedding. Just a recipe request." I stared at it for a long time. I hadn't made that casserole in 2 years. Not since the last time they scraped the dish clean without saying thank you. Back then, Sam had taken credit for it. Told Uncle Don it was her recipe. Said it with a wink like it was a joke. I never corrected her. That had been my mistake, letting the lies live quietly, because I didn't want to be loud. I didn't say no to the invite. But I didn't say yes either. I drove there with the casserole in the passenger seat anyway, sweating through my coat. I told myself it was the last time, that I just wanted to see if anything would be different. If anyone would look at me and see me. The house looked the same, smelled like cinnamon and expectation. Sam opened the door. She looked surprised, like I'd shown up uninvited to my own story. "Oh, you came," she said, smiling too wide. Her wedding ring caught the hallway light. I noticed the necklace around her neck. It used to be mine. Dinner was loud. Laughter, clinks, the scraping of plates. Dad made a toast to new beginnings and family strength. He didn't look at me once while he said it. I brought the casserole into the kitchen and placed it on the sideboard. No one noticed. At the table, they'd set up 3 long rows of folding chairs and mismatched plates. Sam sat in the center, next to Ethan. Mom sat beside her, doting, brushing invisible crumbs from her sweater. There was no chair for me. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. I leaned against the wall, invisible in the home I grew up in. "Oh," Mom called, across the room. "Mara, could you grab one from the garage?" Like always. Like I was staff. Like I didn't matter until something needed doing. I walked outside into the cool air. The garage light flickered, like it didn't want to stay awake either. I found a dusty plastic chair stacked against the wall, the kind that dips in the middle, leaves your back aching. I didn't bring it in. I stood in the doorway, looking through the kitchen window. They were already eating. My seat wasn't even missed. The casserole was open, half gone. Sam was laughing again, her mouth wide with comfort. I turned, walked back to my car, and left. Back at my apartment, I reheated leftover soup and watched steam fog up the window. I thought about the chair, the casserole, the ring. I thought about how they took everything I gave and never once offered warmth back. I thought about how easy it had become for me to be absent, how right it felt. There is a kind of grief that doesn't howl. It just sits beside you at dinner tables where no one notices you're gone. The next morning, I received a voicemail from Mom. Just 3 words, clipped and brittle. That was rude. I didn't respond. Instead, I took the wedding RSVP out from the drawer, folded it slowly, and held it over the stove flame until it curled into black. Some things don't deserve a checkbox. The first cold snap came the following week. I remember because I woke up to frost on the inside of my window, tracing delicate veins across the glass like the edges of a broken promise. I pulled my blanket tighter and sat at the edge of my bed, scrolling through my phone. There was a new message in the family group chat, the one I had left weeks ago. Sam had made a new one. She added me in without asking. "Sam, anyone know why the heat's not working?" "Mom, ours too." "Mara, can you check the utility account? You're still listed on it, right?" I stared at the blinking dots as someone else typed. "Dad, can you just log in and make sure it's paid? Not a big deal." Not a big deal. Like I was still the backup plan, still the dependable one. The truth was, they'd asked me to set up the utility account in my name 2 years ago, back when Sam and Ethan were still living in the guest house. Just until we figure things out, they said. They never figured anything out. But I did. I had kept paying out of guilt for a while, even after I moved out. Even when they forgot to say thank you. Even when I was microwaving rice 3 nights in a row while their Christmas lights sparkled through my bedroom window. But not anymore. I logged into the energy account. The dashboard blinked. Auto payment disabled. I had turned it off last month. Quietly. I could have warned them. I could have reminded them. I could have clicked one button and kept the furnace humming through the hallways of their well-decorated ingratitude. But I didn't. I logged out and went to make tea. The next day, another message lit up my screen. Mom, you could have at least told us. Your sister is freezing. Sam, we're literally using space heaters. This is messed up, Mara. Dad, you know your mother can't handle the cold. No one asked how I was. No one asked how many nights I went cold. No one remembered the last winter. The one I couldn't afford groceries because I paid their heating bill. I didn't answer right away. I let 3 days pass. Long enough for them to feel the chill in their bones. The one I had known so well. Not from the weather, but from their love. Then I replied, "It's not my account anymore." That was all. No anger, no essay, no apology. I deleted the app, deleted the thread, deleted the version of me who always said yes while shivering in silence. Later that week, I lit a candle on my small kitchen table, next to a thrifted ceramic plate and a bowl of warm lentil stew. The heater purred gently from the corner. I sat in my own warmth, paid for by me. I thought about how my silence wasn't cruel. It was earned. Some debts aren't numbers. They're the years no one thanked you. Sam showed up at my apartment. She didn't call ahead, just knocked. Sharp, rushed, like her urgency was something I owed her. I almost didn't answer. I stood with my hand hovering near the knob, watching, her distorted silhouette through the peephole. She looked cold, hunched into a long beige coat with fur at the collar. The same one Mom gave her last Christmas, the one I paid for, though no one ever said that out loud. Another knock. Louder. This time. "Mara," she called, voice tight with frost. "I just need a minute." I opened the door, not because I wanted to, because I was ready. She stepped in like she owned the air between us, looked around like she expected clutter, disappointment. Her eyes paused at the bookshelf, the stack of folded blankets, the single candle flickering on my counter. "This is cute," she said. I smiled, small and silent. "I came," she began, "because the heat thing was really unfair. Mom's been sick. Dad's been working extra hours. We thought you had it handled." "You thought I had it handled," I repeated, like the words were a strange language. She frowned. "It's not like you said anything. You just stopped helping." I nodded slowly. I did. Silence stretched between us. Her coat still dusted snow onto my floor. "You used my savings," I said finally. Quiet, calm, like I was stating the weather. "For your wedding." She blinked. "What?" "You knew. Don't pretend you didn't." Her lips parted, then closed again. "I didn't make the decision. That was Mom and Dad. But you didn't stop them." A pause. "You let them drain my account," I continued, "while I was skipping meals, while I was walking to work to save on gas, while you were picking out floral arrangements and cake samples. I didn't ask you to pay. You didn't have to," I cut in. "You never do. You just expect, and you call it love." Her mouth trembled, just slightly. "So this is what it is now? You hate me?" I shook my head. "No. I just finally stopped pretending we're the same." Her eyes glossed. Not tears. Not yet. Just recognition. The slow thaw of someone who had always assumed she'd be forgiven. "Why didn't you say anything sooner?" "I was waiting for you to care. I said gently. I finally stopped. She sat down without asking. I didn't stop her. For a moment, the only sound in the apartment was the ticking clock above the fridge. You were always the strong one, she said, voice barely a whisper. No, I answered. I was just the quiet one. There's a difference. She looked up at me, then really looked. The way people do when the story changes, and they realize they're not the main character. I didn't kick her out. I didn't yell. I just stood there, whole in a way I hadn't felt in years. And for the first time, she sat in the mess she helped make, not with shame, but with understanding. Sometimes that's all a reckoning is. A week after Sam left, an envelope appeared in my mailbox. No return address. Just my name, written in a handwriting I hadn't seen in years. Neat, slanted, almost delicate. Mom's. Inside was a card. Heavy stock, cream-colored, like the wedding invite. But this one had no gold lettering, no fancy font, just a message. We'd like to have you over for dinner. Just us. Love, Mom. No time. No date. Just a folded gesture. Fragile, like she didn't want to admit it was an apology. Or didn't know how. I placed the card on my windowsill and left it there for 3 days. Watched it curl slightly under the morning sun, like even it wasn't sure it belonged. When I finally called, Dad answered. He sounded surprised. Said they'd made pot roast. Said they weren't expecting me, but would make room. Of course, they would. They always made room after they filled the table. The house looked smaller. Maybe it had always been small, and I just hadn't noticed how tight it felt, trying to fit around other people's needs. I stood in the doorway for a while before stepping in. The air smelled like rosemary and worn-out effort. Mom came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She didn't hug me, just nodded. You look tired, she said. I'm rested, I replied. She paused, like she didn't quite know what that meant. Dinner was quieter than I remembered. No laughter, no Sam. Just the clink of cutlery and the sound of Dad clearing. His throat too often. They tried small talk. Weather, work, some show I didn't watch. I let them talk. Let them dance around it like we were strangers in a waiting room. Until finally, Mom said, We've been thinking a lot. About what you said. What you didn't say. I looked at her. She looked away. Dad shifted in his chair. We didn't realize you felt so distant. I didn't feel distant, I said softly. I felt erased. They didn't argue, didn't deny. Maybe they were tired too. Maybe all those years of pretending we were a family without fracture had worn them down. I was never the easy one, I said. I didn't cry at the right moments. I didn't need rescuing, so you forgot I needed anything at all. Dad opened his mouth. Closed it. Mom's eyes brimmed, but she blinked them dry. I don't want apologies, I added. I don't need you to fix it. I just wanted you to see it. For once. And for once, they did. Not in words, but in silence. The kind that finally listened. As I left, Mom followed me to the door. Will we see you at Christmas? She asked. I paused, hand on the doorknob. If I come, I said, it'll be as a guest, not a giver. She didn't answer, just nodded slowly. and that was enough. That night, back in my apartment, I pulled the card from my bag and placed it in the drawer where the RSVP used to be. One folded offering replacing another. This one I had chosen to open. The first sign of December was the whisper of pine in the grocery store. Then came the questions. You're coming home for Christmas, right? You always make the cinnamon rolls. Don't forget the board games. You're the only one who brings the good ones. It came from everyone. Sam, Mom, even Julian, who once forgot my birthday but suddenly remembered my pecan pie. No one asked if I wanted to. Only if I would. For years, I had made Christmas happen. I brought the soft things, the blankets, the spiced cider, the quiet presents that kept the edges smooth. They gave me chaos and late plans, and always somehow running out of space. I gave them calm. I gave them certainty. They never noticed that I gave the most, because I never made them see it. This year, I sent a message. I'll come. But I'm not bringing anything. Not food, not gifts, not explanations, just me. It was the longest sentence I'd ever sent them with a period at the end instead of a question mark. I arrived at 4:12 p.m. The living room smelled like ham and garland. Christmas music floated in from the kitchen. That same old playlist they swore never changed. It hadn't. Sam was already there, perfectly dressed in a green velvet dress and red lipstick that looked like it belonged in a photo shoot. She didn't say much when I walked in. Just a blink and a flat, "Oh, you made it." Mom greeted me with a half smile. Dad with a pat on the shoulder like I was passing him in a hallway. I didn't bring gifts. I didn't bake anything. I sat on the couch and watched. Just watched. At dinner, there was one empty seat. They had overestimated again. Or maybe I had finally taken up space. I ate slowly. I didn't jump up to refill anyone's glass. I didn't cut the pie or clear the dishes or organize the gift exchange. I didn't perform the version of me they preferred. I was kind, but not eager. Present, but not available. Sam passed me a small box across the table. "I got you something," she said, voice softer than usual. "It's not much." I opened it. It was a photo of us as kids, the one from Grandma's garden, where I was holding a dandelion and she was tugging at my braid. It used to sit on the mantel. Now it sat in a frame with a handwritten note, tucked behind the glass. I know it wasn't fair. I saw it all. I just didn't know how to be anything without you holding the weight. She didn't say anything else, and I didn't answer. I just nodded. The smallest movement, that was all I had to give. Later, I stood by the window and looked out at the snow gathering in soft piles along the sidewalk. The cold didn't sting this year, because I had finally stopped trying to warm people who never offered me shelter. The year turned without ceremony. No resolutions. No promises. Just a slow, steady breath into January, the kind you take after a long swim, when your feet finally touch ground again. I didn't visit as much after Christmas, not out of bitterness, but because I didn't need to anymore. They stopped asking so often, not out of anger, but because they finally understood that I wouldn't come running at the sound of obligation. It took years to unravel myself from them, not just the chores and the favors, but the identity, the role, the practiced smile of someone who makes everything easy for everyone but herself. Sam called once in February. She didn't want anything. She just asked how I was. I told her I'd started a new project, A small freelance job designing a wellness guide for single women starting over. I told her I'd painted my kitchen cabinets blue. I told her I was sleeping better, and she said, "You sound lighter." I didn't know how to answer that, because no one had ever said it before. One quiet Sunday, I pulled out that framed photo again, the one Sam gave me at Christmas. I placed it on a shelf near the window, next to a ceramic bowl I bought for no one's taste but mine. It no longer stung to look at. I saw the braid, the dandelion, the gap between us. I saw what was taken. But I also saw the girl who never stopped giving, and the woman who finally stopped explaining why she left the table. I don't hate them. I don't wish them harm. But I no longer let their warmth, or their silence, define my seasons. I don't ask to be seen. I don't audition to be kept. I simply am. The last message I ever sent in the family group chat was 6 words long. I'm doing well. Take care, everyone. Then, I left it again. Not out of drama, not out of revenge, out of peace. There are stories you're born into, and stories you write yourself, one quiet boundary at a time. Mine begins here, with enough.